The grocery store was busy, carts clinking, and shoppers chatting as they browsed. In the middle of the candy aisle stood a young black boy named Malik, just 10 years old, wearing a faded hoodie and sneakers with worn soles. He clutched a $5 bill tightly, eyes scanning the shelves for his favorite chocolate bar. "Can I get this, please?" Malik asked politely at the counter. The store manager, a tall white man named Greg in his 40s, glanced at him and smirked. "Kid, this isn't a charity shop. Are you sure you can even afford that? Or are you just here to waste my time?" Malik's face burned. "I have money," he said quietly, holding up the bill. Greg chuckled loud enough for other customers to hear. "Sure you do. Why don't you go buy something cheaper, something more your kind can afford?" The words stung like a slap. Malik froze, fighting back tears, feeling every pair of eyes on him. But he didn't know the next few minutes would change everything. Greg was just about to toss the candy bar back onto the shelf when a voice rang out. Sharp, clear, and commanding enough to stop every sound in the store. "Excuse me, what did you just say to my son?" The words cut through the hum of chatter like a blade. Every head turned toward the front door. There stood a tall, confident black woman in her late 30s, Denise, her presence impossible to ignore. She wore a tailored navy blue pantsuit, her natural curls framing her face like a crown, and her dark brown eyes locked directly on Greg. She wasn't just walking in. She was arriving. Each step she took toward the counter was deliberate, heels clicking against the tile floor like a metronome of authority. Customers leaned aside to watch, some pretending to shop while inching closer. Malik's shoulders, tense only seconds ago, relaxed slightly. He knew that tone. He'd heard it before, usually when she was about to make a point no one would forget. Greg froze. The smirk that had been glued to his face moments earlier wavered. I was just saying." "You were insulting a child," Denise interrupted, her voice smooth but edged with steel. "My child. In front of strangers. Do you think that's acceptable?" The cashier stopped scanning items. A mother with a toddler in the next aisle peeked around the corner. The entire store seemed to hold its breath. Greg's eyes flickered from Denise to Malik, as if realizing for the first time that the boy wasn't standing there alone. And the look on Denise's face made it clear, this was no casual conversation. This was the start of a reckoning. Greg cleared his throat, trying to shake off the growing weight in the air. "Look, ma'am, I didn't mean anything by it. You just assumed," Denise cut in, her voice calm but sharp enough to make Greg flinch. She stepped closer to the counter, her presence towering even without raising her voice. "You saw a black kid with a $5 bill and decided he wasn't worth your respect. You don't know who we are. You don't know what we can afford." Malik stood beside her now, holding the candy bar with both hands, his eyes flicking between his mom and the man who had embarrassed him minutes ago. Customers shifted in place, pretending to browse but hanging on every word. Greg raised his palms slightly. "Okay, maybe I misjudged the situation." "You did more than misjudge," Denise said, her gaze never wavering. "You humiliated my son, and you tried to make him feel small. That doesn't happen on my watch." Greg's attempt at a casual shrug fell flat. "Look, I'm sorry, I didn't." Denise reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. "I'd like the number to your corporate office," she said firmly. Greg hesitated, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. "Why?" Denise's answer was simple, but it landed like a punch. "Because I'm not just Malik's mother," she said, straightening her shoulders. "I'm the regional director for this entire store chain." The color drained from Greg's face instantly. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. A murmur rippled through the line of customers, and someone in the back muttered, "Oh, man." In that moment, the power balance flipped entirely. Greg wasn't the one in control anymore, and everyone in the store knew it. Greg's knees seemed to lock in place as Denise's words sank in. "Regional director?" His eyes darted to the store's security cameras, as if they might offer him an escape. Denise didn't rush. She let the silence stretch, making every person in the store feel the weight of the moment. Malik shifted his gaze up to her, a mixture of pride and awe in his eyes. "Greg," Denise began, her voice even but commanding, "when you work here, you're not just selling candy or groceries. You're representing this brand. That means every customer, regardless of age, race, or how much money they have, deserves your respect. Do you understand that?" Greg swallowed hard. "Yes, ma'am. I'm not here to ruin your life," Denise continued, softening her tone slightly, "but you need to understand the damage you've done. My son walked in here excited to buy something with his own money. You turned that into a moment of shame. That's unacceptable." Greg's gaze dropped to the counter. I'm sorry, Malik." The boy hesitated, then said quietly, "It's okay. Just don't do it to someone else." His words, though small, carried more power than Greg expected. Denise nodded approvingly at her son, then looked back at Greg. "You'll be writing up a formal apology to Malik. And next week, you'll attend a customer service retraining session. If I hear about anything like this again, it won't just be retraining, it will be termination." Greg nodded quickly. "Understood." Denise took the candy bar from Malik's hand, placed it on the counter, and paid for it, dropping the change into her son's palm. Then she leaned slightly closer to Greg. "Respect," she said firmly, "costs nothing. But a lack of it, that can cost you everything." As Denise and Malik stepped out of the store, the late afternoon sun bathed them in a warm glow. Malik clutched his candy bar, but his smile was wider than any piece of chocolate could inspire. "Mom," he asked softly, "were you mad because he was mean to me, or because he thought I didn't matter?" Denise's heart tightened. She crouched to meet his eyes. "Both, baby. Nobody gets to make you feel like you don't matter. You are worth respect, every single time." Malik nodded, as if tucking those words into his heart for later. They began walking to their car, but Denise noticed a couple who had witnessed the entire scene in the store. The woman gave Denise a subtle nod of admiration. Inside, Greg watched them leave. He felt the sting of embarrassment, but more than that, he felt something shift. He remembered the way Malik had said, "Just don't do it to someone else." That hit harder than any corporate warning could. Later that evening, Greg sat at his kitchen table with a pen and notepad. His formal apology was due tomorrow, but he found himself writing more than just a letter. He was writing about his own biases, about how quickly he'd judged a boy without knowing him. Meanwhile, Denise posted a short note on her social media. "Today, my son was disrespected in a store. But instead of walking away angry, we turned it into a lesson. For him, for the store, and maybe for a few others too. Respect isn't optional." The post went viral overnight. Messages poured in from parents, workers, and even former customers of the store.